Baby, you are now rocking with the best. Parrish on your screen. Right next to me is the one and only Jesse Holley. FanDuel bringing to you Believe in Cowboys. Jesse, last night, the opening season for the Cowboys and Eagles, crazy.
Yeah, man, it was a crazy, crazy, crazy game last night. Some things I expected, some things I didn't expect in that game. But the Cowboys had a chance.
They
The
did.
Cowboys
Hey,
had a chance.
hold,
And that's all you can ask for.
hold on for a second, because this is the last time I'm going to do this, because you weren't here the other day. I'm going to look at my watch, because that's usually how we would start the show. And we would say Micah Parsons hasn't his deal yet, but clearly he's got his deal and he's been moved. We're going to talk
Yes.
about that later on in the podcast. But again, back to the game. Cowboys end up losing. They cover the spread. They were 8.5-point dogs going into Philadelphia as they raised their banner. They had a chance, multiple opportunities to win the game. However, we saw how it unfolded. A lot of things to unravel, but just starting with, what was your number one takeaway from the game last night? Because, again, there were so many things that happened, offensively, defensively, whether we're going to talk about the saliva, that's another conversation. What was the biggest takeaway for you from the opening game of the season?
I guess the drops from CeeDee Lamb. Like that to me stood out, and I've been on this platform and many different platforms, and I've spoken so highly and glowingly about CeeDee Lamb and what I think he would be, is, and will be as a player. But to think about that, he had 117 yards last night on 7 catches, 15 yards a carry, and he dropped 4 passes. Like, he dropped almost 100 yards worth of passes when you look at what those would have totaled up to. That, if I had to give you a list before the game, if I said, Ro, if the Cowboys lose this game, what player do you think it would be on the shoulders of? And I would have probably, and Usain would have probably had to go 88 names deep before you got to number 88. And last night, a lot of this game, when you look at a couple plays here and there, falls on the shoulders of CeeDee Lamb. To have the amount of drops that he had, you can add Jake Ferguson to that. You can add the Miles Sanders fumble into that. But boy, it was heartbreaking to see CeeDee Lamb come up so small in the moments where he normally comes up so big.
Very disappointing, and they were drops. However, dude, Dak is back. People can say what they want about Dak Prescott and what he can and cannot do. Fully recovered. We didn't see him in the preseason. We saw him in training camp. But, hey, every ball, except for maybe one, was on a rope. It was accurate. Yeah. He was locked in. Everything, every receiver that played for the Cowboys that was targeted by Dak Prescott had a chance. And he was on point with that thing. He was surgical. Even those balls, the last 4th down play with CeeDee Lamb, it would have been a difficult catch, absolutely, but he put it right where it needed to be.
Yeah, it would have been a difficult catch for an average wide receiver, but CeeDee Lamb is not average. We don't hold him to average standard. I've watched CeeDee Lamb in practice, in games, make catches 10 times more difficult than that, with one hand in some of them. So that was a play that CeeDee Lamb should make 10 times out of 10. He lined it up right. The ball was there. It hit both of his hands. This was the lack of focus for him last night, and that's more of an anomaly. Like, because CeeDee Lamb, he had 7 drops last year, far too many in any year, but he had 4 last night. That is one of those concentration things where you're just not fully focused on catching the ball. And like I said, a lot of them were right there, hitting both of his hands. But to your point, Dak was on point last night. He was wheeling and dealing. He was slinging that thing around the park. And even in his perfection, and that's what somewhat a little bit worries me, is because I don't know if you're going to get Dak like that every single game. But even in that mode, it just still wasn't enough to beat the team that are equal to or greater than the Dallas Cowboys.
So when it comes to quarterback play, Dak Prescott on point, the accuracy, everything was on a dime. But Dak played well. His jersey was clean. You got to give it up to the offensive line, the great wall of Tyler, especially Tyler Guyton, who, by the way, who was escorted to the locker room after the game by Jerry Jones. I don't know if you saw those pictures, but in the game, there was a moment to where, maybe a flag maybe should have been thrown, but it wasn't, because he straight clock somebody in the face.
Yeah.
There were questions about, was he soft? Was he a bust? He clearly showed that he had that dog in him last night.
Yeah, what I love that Coach Schottenheimer did, talking about empowering confidence in a young player who needed that. He missed all of training camp. He was there the first 2, maybe 3 days, and he got hurt, and he missed the entire training camp. And still, even with the emergence and the push from Nate Thomas, Coach Schottenheimer said, "This is Tyler Guyton's game, and we're not going to be subbing in and out. I'm going to leave him out there. This is his game." And he went out there and he made Coach Schottenheimer right. He wasn't great, but he wasn't what we thought he was going to be of old. You saw the growth, you saw the improvement, and you saw the physicality. Like you said, there might have, could have been, should have been maybe a flag. He had a nice little round off hook, left hook on the defensive end. But that's what you want to see from Tyler Guyton. You want to see him fight. You want to see him go out there, literally and figuratively fight, have some aggression, have some willingness to walk to the line, and sometimes maybe even cross it to let folks know, listen, just because of what I was last year, yesterday's price is not today's price, and I'm not soft, right? Like, I may be saved, but I ain't soft. And so Tyler Guyton was going out there against, the Philadelphia Eagles and that defensive line, and really trying to show the rest of the league that this ain't what you want. This ain't last year's Tyler Guyton. I made some changes in my life, both personally and professionally, and I locked in and focused. And I remember his trainer, Duke Manyweather, talking about, if Tyler Guyton is going to make a change, it's going to have to be within himself. We can't do it for him. Coaches can't do it for him. Trainers can't do it for him. Teammates can't do it for him. He has to be wanting and willing to change himself. And I thought last night he took a really good, solid step in the direction of being a pretty good left tackle in this league and not a bust.
Definitely not a bust, at least in that game, because you saw flashes. Now, is he going to be a Pro Bowl caliber, all pro? We don't know yet, but he did start off strong. Got to give it up, like I said, for the offensive line. Pass protection was on point, no sacks allowed. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that Jalen Carter wasn't there. Again, we're going to circle back to that. But let's go to the Cowboys running game, because last year we know that there were many struggles. You had an older Ezekiel Elliott, you had Rico Dowdle, you had holes here and there. No consistency. However, one thing that I saw that you won't be able to see in the stat sheet was that push. When that ball came through with the running back, we didn't see that line get pushed back. They pushed forward. What were your thoughts on the run game for the Cowboys?
It was Javonte Williams is a physical running back. I think we knew that coming into this thing, but he had a little bit more physicality than I even projected or thought that he would. So that was a solid thing to have. I was wondering why they didn't go with Jaden Blue in the rotation. He was inactive in that
Healthy
game.
scratch.
Yeah, Miles Sanders had a good breakaway, but those old legs got tired and he got run down by a linebacker.
Yeah.
And so to see that, you think, man, if that was Jaden Blue, maybe that's a house call, maybe that's a difference to the game. But overall, the running game was okay. It was okay. It was serviceable. It was formidable enough where you don't have to abandon it. You don't have to feel bad about it. I don't think it's going to be, we're not looking at anybody having a 2,000-yard rusher back there, but I think the running game was serviceable, and for that, you can go into next week feeling good about turning around and handing the ball off, 15 to 22, 24 times a game, and it being the thing that kind of keeps the defense honest and keep your offense moving forward.
You took the words right out of my mouth when it comes to keeping the defense honest. When you have a quarterback like Dak and you want to keep his jersey clean, you got to have a run game that's complementary, that allows your quarterback, who's the highest paid player in the league, to do his thing, and that he did. But again, the offensive line, they played well, but maybe it was because Jalen Carter was not in the game, something that I had never seen before. We've all seen it. It went viral. The hashtag Dak spit first, that came out. That whole situation was crazy, but Jalen Carter gets ejected before the first snap even takes place from the line of scrimmage. Dak is accused maybe of baiting him into that, and he played the role at the end of the game in the press conference and said, I spit on the field all the time. A lot of things to unravel, but what is your takeaway from that whole encounter?
One, spitting is the nastiest thing that you can do to a human being. Like, it's number one on my list. Like, if we're talking about man-to-man disrespectful list, like, if there's a tier, like, I did my top 5 on Twitter, and I said, like, Number 5 is playing with my money. Number 4 is unwarranted touching my old lady. Number 3 is offering me to your private parts. Number 2 is open hand smacking me, and number 1 is spitting. Like number 1, hands down, is spitting. And honestly, like not trying to play sides on either way. It did from the camera angle. It looked like Dak spit in his vicinity, and then kind of gave the kind of Chester cat smile and like nod at him, and that's when Jalen Carter. Either way, spitting in either direction is wrong. Like is wrong, and I do not know how, for the life of me, that Dak kept his composure after that spit landed on him. I don't know how. I do not know how, because I would have flipped. I don't care how big Jalen Carter is. There would have been 2 ejections. There would have been definitely 2 ejections. But, there's no place for that anywhere. Not just in football, in life. Like to spit on someone, to spit at someone, it's wrong. Like it is flat out wrong. It is absolutely disrespectful and disgusting. It is number 1 on my list of most disrespectful things that you can do to another human being. And so, good riddance to Jalen Carter in that particular game for what he did. And it was a major loss for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like they based their defense around what Jalen Carter is able to do up front. He's a disruptive force. He creates havoc. He is a disruptor by himself. So when he's in the game, Jordan Davis is better, and all the other guys around him are better, and Braun behind him is better. The secondary doesn't have to cover as long because he is creating a mismatch hell up front. And so with him out the game, the Philadelphia Eagles defense was really basically playing with one hand tied behind their back.
Which is interesting because we know that the Cowboys essentially were doing the same thing defensively because they traded their best defensive player a week before. So maybe it was even from that perspective. But when you look at Jalen Carter, obviously he did not play. The offensive line played very well. Offensively, when we're looking at it, and it was talked about before we got to training camp, it was implemented during training camp. When you talk about Coach Schotty and the different offensive wrinkles that he has, whether it's motions, whether it's shifts, getting different matchups, that's something that we haven't really seen for the past couple of seasons. What were your thoughts on seeing the new look Dallas Cowboys offense?
Yeah, in the first half of this game, you saw the new look Cowboys offense. Not so much in the second half after the rain delay. It seemed like they just kind of both got stagnant, both Philadelphia and Dallas. But in the first half, there were I saw a stat this morning from shout out to Mina Kimes. 42% of the snap for the Dallas Cowboys had an at snap motion. If you take that and you extrapolate it to the numbers that were produced last year, the Cowboys last year, according to how they did it, they were ranked 29th. With that 42%, they would have been ranked 4th in the league with the motion at or before the ball was snapped. And that's what you want to see, because motion gives the offense just another small indicator of what the defense is doing. It gives it gives offensive linemen, it gives receivers and pass catchers a way to kind of create an edge, because guys are moving when the shift happens. The guys can on the offensive line get on the blocks better. So that just helps out your offense, and it gives you a clearer picture of what's going on. So to see Schottenheimer do it in the first half of the game was really, really, really encouraging. But it did feel like he tailed off in the second half of the game. You saw more stagnant sets from the Cowboys, less motion, less things, more creative. And maybe that's why they kind of stalled out in the second half, both teams, after that rain delay. But the first half, you saw a clear picture of what that looks like and how that got open a lot of the Cowboys receivers.
Yes, indeed. Cowboys, 4 drives, 4 scores in that first half. I mean, the game offensively was one of those games that you say, yeah, I definitely want to watch this. Definitely a good one for the viewers after the weather delay, when we came back and turned into more of a defensive struggle. But just rating the offense, when we look at it, we know what we saw with the running game. We know we saw Dak Prescott. We also saw CeeDee Lamb, who had a great game until after the rain delay. Obviously, we talked about that. Then you have George Pickens, 4 targets, 3 catches for 30 yards. What is your overall grade for the Cowboys offense in game 1?
I would say high C plus, maybe low B minus. Still some things to clean up. Of course, the drops. I still want to see George Pickens used in a much more creative way, right? Like we talked about George Pickens, all that he did in Pittsburgh. Well, he ran the same routes last night. He
Right.
ran the same kind of routes he ran in Pittsburgh last night, and they told him that he has an opportunity to run different routes. So I want to see him in that. In that, Jalen Tolbert was kind of a no-show for me. A lot of people don't want Jalen Tolbert on the field as it is. Get Turpin involved a little bit more. Jake Ferguson, he had a couple catches here and there. He dropped one that should have been a touchdown in the end zone. He felt that hit coming. Like Michael Irvin used to say, hell, the hit's coming anyway, so you might as well catch it. So,
Right.
I would say a high C plus, low B minus.
Man, what playmaker say? I might get knocked out, but they gonna say first down.
They gonna say first down. They gonna say first down. So you might as well take it. You got your head knocked off anyway.
Yes, indeed. Hey, it's Believe in Cowboys, brought to you by FanDuel. Jesse Holley, along with Ro Parrish. The Dallas Cowboys take the L in the season opener, 24-20, losing to the Philadelphia Eagles as the banner went up. And let me just say this, man. Like, when it comes to these nights, we know that the Cowboys were not favored. They're going with the backs against the wall. And, it's a crazy situation. And, it's difficult to find the right candidates to show up in these moments, Jesse. Like when you need someone to really show up and play, it's almost like trying to find a needle in the haystack. I mean, you got to get the right candidates to be out there on the field. But see, that's why you need something like ZipRecruiter, because ZipRecruiter finds those amazing candidates. Listen, you can try it for free right now. Go ahead, pull out your mobile device. You're probably already watching us on your mobile device. Write out on a piece of paper if you got that. ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Customize this, right? You can do everything that you need to do with ZipRecruiter's technology. It identifies the top talent for your roles quickly. Now, you post a job, and ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology starts showing you all the qualified people you need to advance and get that first down in your line of work. Now, you can connect with the candidates ASAP. You can invite to apply. So message them personally and reach out to your favorite candidates and encourage them to apply sooner. So it's like this. All those other hiring sites, you need to get rid of that, because ZipRecruiter, this is what you need. It's like the scouting department for an NFL team. They're going to identify the best talent. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter, they get a quality candidate within the first day. So it's almost like draft day. Again, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Baby, please believe ZipRecruiter. It is the smartest way to hire. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Hey, man, of course, Believe in Cowboys, Ro Parrish, Jesse Holley. All right. Micah Parsons is gone. He's been traded. He was traded for Kenny Clark. We saw him get in the game in spots. We saw him. He didn't get credit for a sack, but we saw him get to the quarterback. Just your thoughts defensively, what you saw, and Kenny Clark from Thursday night's game.
Good by Kenny Clark. Some good things by Kenny. You know the greatest thing that Kenny Clark did last night that allowed this defense and defensive front to be better with him in there than Mazi Smith?
What's that?
Get off the ball. Like, as simple as that sounds, bro, that was one of the big knocks when it came to Mazi Smith, where the ball would be snapped and Mazi would still be in his stance. And that is a loss 9 times out of 10. If the center can get the ball snapped to the quarterback and you haven't moved, he won. The guard won. They're on you now. You haven't recreated the line of scrimmage. And that was the one thing, that was one of the things that stood out to me the most. I was like, you know what? When the ball is snapped, Kenny Clark is up on that center, is up on that guard, and he's pushing them back. You're talking about a yard, 2 yards, that he's recreated the line of scrimmage. So now the back, instead of being the offensive line, has made a new line of scrimmage on the other side of the ball, so that back has a 1-yard head start. They're starting backed up, so that back, by the time he gets back to the original line of scrimmage, it's a no gain, even though he's moved 2 yards. So Kenny Clark just simply getting off the ball made a significant difference on how the Cowboys were able to contain the run and push the pocket against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then his ability to what we call press. So when an offense and defensive lineman engage, defensive linemen, they go and they grab, and then they press the offensive lineman away, and now they're able to go to either side of that particular offensive lineman, especially if it's one-on-one coverage. So when Kenny gets off the ball and he presses that center back and then he sheds them and he's in a hole, he may not necessarily make the tackle, but that running back sees a body in that hole. So now he either stutters or he jumps cut to the other hole where the cavalry is coming, and now these runs that would have gone for bigger distances are stopped for shorter distance because of the ability of a guy like Kenny Pickett being able to press the hole, get through either side of it, and get to the ball carrier. So he was really good last night. I don't think he can play as many snaps as he played last night all year long. So that's something that the Eberflus and that defensive staff are going to have to work through to get he and Osa a little bit better rotation so that their snap count isn't so high. You got to get Solomon Thomas in there a little bit more. You got to get Jay Toya in there a little bit more so that those guys have a bit of a rotation so they're not playing upwards of 40, 45 snaps in the game, because when we get into the season, those bodies wear down, and Kenny Clark will be 30 years old in about 2 weeks or so. That body can't take those high number of snaps late into the year. But for his first time out, Kenny Clark was impressive. He definitely helped this defensive line. He definitely helped this defense. Again, he's not a world beater, but
Right.
it's better than what the Cowboys had.
Definitely was. And when you talk about what they had, that might be a little bit of foreshadowing, because Mozzie Smith, he was a healthy scratch, former first-round pick that had a lot of expectations. A lot of the Cowboys thought that he was going to be that guy. He has shown that he might not be that guy. And when you're
And Ro, I'm gonna be honest with you. Sorry to cut you off. If there isn't an injury, I don't see where you go back and you give him a game day jersey. I think you can see a bunch of healthy, DMPs, coaches' decisions under Mozzie Smith names, unless there's some sort of injury, because they may have found something with those four guys in the middle, and Mozzie might just be there just in case something happens as an insurance policy. But this is the writing is on the wall for Mozzie Smith. I don't see a way, barring any injury, where you find a way to get Mozzie Smith back on the field.
Yeah, indeed. Like I was saying, he was a healthy scratch. He was inactive for the game against the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a little bit surprising for me to see. I thought that he definitely would be in there. On another podcast, I mentioned that he was one of the keys to the game, seeing what he was going to be able to do with someone like Kenny Clark in the rotation. And it didn't happen, and the writing might be on the wall. The time might be up for Mozzie in Dallas. So, of course, this is FanDuel, bringing it to you. Believe in Cowboys. Jesse Holley, Ro Parrish, talking defense, and the most important defensive player that the Cowboys once had is now wearing a Packers uniform. We're expected to see, man, it's crazy saying it, Micah Parsons playing for the Packers, making his debut against division rival, the Detroit Lions. What do you expect? Because we know that he missed all of training camp. We know that he was training, but as you've said on this podcast many times, you get in football shape by playing football, doing football things. So what do you expect to see from number one, not number 11, number one in your program for the Green Bay Packers?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where Micah is at conditioning-wise. I don't know what the scheme that they're going to play him under. Like, here's the thing. Micah is an exceptional player, right? So you know that when you put him on the field, he's going to have one assignment and one assignment only. Go get the guy with the football. And that he's done historically well, right? Only he and Reggie White are the only two guys who – Reggie White's the only guy that has more sacks than him in his first 4 years in the NFL history. So he does that very well. And if he plays, I think the Green Bay Packers, because the limited time that they had with him, are going to make him very specific, very just assassin type role. Hey, third down, go get the quarterback. We're not gonna do a bunch of stuff with you right now. You go get the quarterback. And if that's the case, I mean, there aren't many people that do it better than him. So I don't care what team you put him on.
Hey, no question. And the Cowboys definitely could have used them when it comes to defending Jalen Hurts, who typically over the last 2 seasons hasn't scored on scrambling plays, but he scored on 2 scrambling plays, touchdowns. Micah Parsons would have been a nice person to maybe shadow him, but you know what? That's neither here nor there. I need to know this. Over or under 1.5 sacks for Micah Parsons in his debut against the Detroit Lions.
Oh, man, that's
You know what? While you're
Oh,
thinking about it,
yeah.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to go
Okay.
over. So, and this is why I'm going to go over for Micah Parsons. We know how it is, and you know way better than I do. But back in the day, I played football, and there were certain instances where you had a little bit of added motivation. For me back in the day, it might have been that fly chick in the stands that showed up to the game that told you that she was going to pull up. You didn't think that she would, and during the national anthem, you look up and you see that fine thing in the stands, and you was like, "Oh, you here? Time to level up." So all that
Yeah.
said, I feel like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying Michael Parsons is gonna have somebody in the crowd, but he clearly has a little bit of added motivation. So I think his hair is gonna be on fire when it comes time for game time.
Yeah, you might be right. And again, not knowing what role they're going to play him in, if he's going to be on the pitch count because of the back injury. Um, but it feels like a sack or half a sack or more feels like something that Micah Parsons can achieve. So I'm going to go with you.
Okay, we're both going over. We're in agreement to that. Micah Parsons in his debut. Interested to see that Green Bay Packers team, how they start the season. And baby, hey, I got my calendar marked
Mm.
for September 28th because we know that's when Micah makes his return. And you know what? I believe that Derek Thomas has the NFL record for most sacks in a game. Would
Mm.
it be safe to say that record might be in jeopardy of being broken that day?
He's gonna try. Micah's gonna try, and whether it's Tyler Guyton or Terrence Steele, you better bring your big boy pads in 3 weeks from now because when Green Bay comes into AT&T Stadium for Sunday Night Football, Micah will have vengeance on his mind.
No question about it. That is going to be one of those games that everybody's going to be locked in on. We know that Sunday Night Football, you mentioned it, all the lights will be on because it is prime time. That is going to be must see TV. But in the meantime, like I said, wrapping up because Cowboys take the L in game one, season kickoff, going to Philadelphia. Hey, I'll just say this, man. The Cowboys did their thing, and I'm one of those guys. I'm not technically a Cowboys hater, but I don't mind trolling the delusional Cowboys fans at times. However, I was extremely impressed offensively, defensively, special teams, top to bottom, what Coach Schottenheimer's been able to do. We know that he comes in. A lot of people were surprised he was hired. People were doubting him. In that first game, as a head coach, although he has all the accolades and he's been a coordinator and coach on all different levels, we know who his dad is. Just his performance, keeping the team in line, I thought that was extremely impressive.
No, he did a good job. He did a good job, and I've been one who's been not critical of Coach Schottenheimer, but has kept a sharp eye on the things that he said and making sure they match what he's actually going out there to do. And I would say for the first 3 quarters of that game, he did very well. Again, I thought he got stagnant in the fourth quarter and really didn't kind of find his swagger. Maybe that was after the hour rain delay. I get that part because trying to get back in that rhythm again because play callers get into a rhythm as the game is going on. And when they have
Right.
an hour delay, they have to find that mojo again. But to open up the way that he did, he wasn't overwhelmed. The game didn't look too big for him. The moment didn't look too big for him. So kudos to him and his staff for having that team ready to go because the Cowboys they were ready to go in that game. They didn't spit the bit and get blown out by the Philadelphia Eagles. They were there and they had a chance. And that now a lot of that goes back to the coach and his readiness that he got this team for this game.
First home game is next week. The New York Giants come to AT&T Stadium. Looking at everything right now, the Cowboys are favored by 3 in this game. Their home opener. We know that the Giants have come into town and spoiled home openers before. That is very well documented. Autographs in the locker room by a certain guy by the last name of Manning. Let's push that to the side. Your early thoughts on what's going to happen in the second game of the season.
I think the Cowboys continue to build. The Giants hasn't been a team that kind of has stood in their way in any part in the past. I know they have Russell Wilson over there. They have another good defensive front, Dexter Lawrence, and they have guys like Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. So that's going to be another challenge for this Cowboys offensive line. Tyler Guyton, you want to show us, you want to show me, you want to show yourself that you're taking the proper steps. Do it consistently. Don't show up this week and have a good game, and then against the Giants, you spit the bit, right? Like, so being able to do that, Schottenheimer continue to add on to that. Dak Prescott, come back and have another one of those good performances. CeeDee Lamb, you're going to be okay. I don't believe that CeeDee Lamb will drop 4 passes against the Giants, and he'll have his opportunity to go out there and make some plays. So early on right now, not watching any film, not having seen the Giants play this week, I feel confident. I've already put the dub when I did my preseason kind of record, game by game record. I had the Cowboys beating the New York Giants. So nothing right now has given me cause for pause or reason to change my answer.
Well, hey, we're going to check it out. We're definitely going to be here. Believe in Cowboys continues, man. The strongest 30 minutes of your day. Jesse Holley always coming with it. He's been in the gym. He's in shape. He's getting right. He's in mid-season form, baby. Before we get out of here, Jesse, tell the people something.
Hey, man, you know what we always talk about, man. Take care of one another, man. Take care of yourself. And always remember, eliminate the contingencies.
There it is, baby. Love, respect, and salute.